Hello and welcome back to Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one of your two hosts, Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
Welcome to our humble corner of the internet, where as always, we have news about stuff. Mike, how are you today?
I'm actually doing quite well today. It's been a good week.
Yeah, it's been a good week for me too. I got straight A's in college, which I've never done before. So
Phenomenal.
I'm pretty pumped up about that. But anyway, go ahead and take us to our plug.
Oh yeah, so if you like this show, or you would like to continue to see this show, it would help if you could do so by having a nice exchange with us over at Patreon, in which we will give you access to either exclusive content or early access to this show, and also the ability to ask questions if you so choose. So there's that over there. And if you decide to just watch the show on free feeds, we appreciate that as well. We don't usually plug, but lately we have been getting some shares. So if you would like to share, that would be phenomenal. It does help us grow. Thank you.
All right, good stuff. Let's move on straight into the news. Let's start with the updates. We got a really good one starting us off, and I'm really excited about this. Minecraft might be the world's best-selling game. Minecraft might be the world's best-selling game. The titan of a game has now sold just over 176 million copies. This is in contention because it's pretty unclear as of the lifetime sales of Tetris, where Tetris right now being the world's best-selling game. Eurogamer has an estimate of between 170 to 425 million copies of Tetris sold, which is a pretty large window. GTA 5 is the closest behind with 110 million copies sold, with no other games passing that 100 million copy mark. Sales of Minecraft have not slowed at all either, indicating even more record potential.
So moving on to the second update, but before I do, I want you to know that I cut out all of the parts where he screwed up, and then I made a comment about how this is the most we've screwed up in a while I proceeded to pour coffee down my face. It's gonna be one of those kind of shows.
Yeah, when you hear me do update 1, it may only last a few seconds, but oh my goodness, I seriously did that take 7 times because I was just, my words were just not happening. So go ahead and go ahead and go to the second update, coffee face.
Great. So Days Gone is a surprise hit in Japan. The game has surpassed the lifetime sales of Detroit Become Human, The Last Guardian, and God of War in Japan. So it's massive.
Ghostbusters is getting a remaster. According to a Taiwanese rating board, the game has been rated for Xbox One. The original game is already available on Xbox One through backwards compatibility.
Yeah, we see this sometimes, where the remaster and the original are both available. Teach their own.
You should go see the voice acting in that game. It's awful. Just want to give you a heads up.
Oh, and Ghostbusters?
Yeah. The voice acting is
pretty terrible.
Is awful. It is absolutely terrible.
Wow, great. Another way to crap on people's childhoods. Wonderful. Moss, the Mouse VR title, is getting some free DLC. The DLC will arrive on May 21st for Oculus Quest, followed by a release on other VR platforms in June.
A new Pokemon mobile game, Pokemon Rumble Rush, has been announced. Currently available in Australia and coming soon for iOS and Android in Japan, the game will feature chibi Pokemon fighting a bunch of other chibi Pokemon.
Yay!
Yay!
We have confirmation.
I want Sword and Shield to come out. That's the only Pokemon I'm worried about right now.
I just want real Pokemon.
Exactly.
The Switch port of DMC has been confirmed to be part of the HD Remastered collection. To further complicate the matter, Capcom has announced the title is indeed the same one as the PS4 and Xbox One version from the collection. They mentioned that, quote, no other titles have been announced, end quote, referring to the fact that they have not announced any other part of that collection coming to Switch. So they took one game out of a collection and were like, here you go. It's weird.
Yeah, that is strange. Microsoft announces its own AR game, Minecraft Earth. Much like Pokemon Go, the game will feature geo-tracking and real-world walking around. Walking around in the real world! This is crazy. while using the camera on your phone to overlay the game. Stephen McHugh said, I think that's how you pronounce that.
I think so.
Stephen McHugh said, oh my God. Stephen McHugh said, quote, "The way we think about this game is that everywhere I look, I can see Minecraft. It brings Minecraft into your real life," end quote.
Okay, sure. Lords of the Fallen 2 has had a rough development cycle. CI Games, a Polish company, has decided to end their contract with developer Defiant Studios to finish the game in-house. The company put out a statement saying, quote, "The termination of the agreement was submitted due to inadequate execution by Defiant of a key work stage, in parentheses, milestone number 11, a so-called vertical slice. The quality of the work was lower than expected by the company, as precisely described in the agreement, despite 3 calls to improve the quality of this stage of work," end quote. Defiant fired back, saying, quote, "We categorically disagree with the portrayal of Defiant Studios made by CI Game. The team that was working on CI Games' project was comprised of exceedingly talented developers whose work we fully stand behind. Our team knows how to build quality games, as is evident by their key roles in Just Cause 3, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Far Cry 5, Devil May Cry DMC, and many other top-tier projects," end quote. So that's fun.
You know, it's kind of funny. Normally when people... This is a little odd because normally when people end agreements, even if there is bad blood between them, they're usually really professional about it and go like, we know Bungie and Activision were at each other's throats for like the last year of development on Destiny 2.
Yeah.
And yet when they broke their partnership, they're like, hey, we're really grateful to... They were really grateful to Activision for supporting us, right. And then, of course, Activision's like, we're going to miss being Guardians like the rest of you. And, they were being really professional about it. And these guys are like, yeah, we ended our contract because these guys just were not making the cut. Sorry.
Right. Quick sidebar. I saw a video the other day on Facebook that was like, when do you join an online game or whatever, And it's 2 guys just shouting at each other, F you. And then it just proceeds to go along that lines for 2.5 minutes. And it reminded me of this situation where they're just like, F you, no F you, no F you. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Calm down.
There's always that one person, if you go into an online game, there's always that one person who has their mic plugged in who isn't in a party and is just talking trash.
Yeah. Or mouth
online. Like talking to no one. Yeah. Or hearing like obligatory rap music in the background or someone's parents getting divorced.
That's the best.
Great. Yeah. Katana Zero finally got certified in Australia. The game has been rated R18 plus by the Australian Classification Board. Developer Digital told Stevivor.com.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's the name
Developer Digital Developer Digital told Stevival.com they plan to get the game available in Australia, quote, around the end of the month, end quote.
Yeah. Glad that game's finally coming out. Riot Games continues to deal with internal struggles.
Zoinks.
Yeah, wonderful. The developer had the biggest labor walkout in games last week to support current employees suing the company for sexual harassment and equal pay. The company allowed employees to demonstrate. However, the company stated that they will, quote, not change our employee agreements while in active litigation. We know not everyone agrees with this decision, but we also know everyone does want Riot to continue to improve, end quote. Employees were displeased with the company's response, saying, quote, we're disappointed leadership doesn't seem to be considering any major changes to their active policy. That said, we're blown away by the passion, solidarity, and vulnerability that workers who support the walkout are showing, end quote. The company also stated that it will be appointing a, quote, Diversity and Inclusion Rioters Council, end quote, led by, quote, engaged, thoughtful rioters, end quote. So this is just a huge mess and continues to be.
Sounds like a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hope for the best. Unfortunately, it's really sad. All right, have you ever worked in a place like, okay, so you work in a place like, let's say a restaurant, and every time you get and you'll get someone new hired, or like a new manager will come in and try and shake things up, and they go, this place is going to change. We're going to make this place way better than it's been, and then it just never changes.
Yeah, it's just the same shit.
Yeah, and I feel really bad because I feel like for things like this, until you get like a change in management or a huge change in policy, a lot of this stuff isn't going to change, which is really sad.
Yeah. Sidebar to this, the people that are accused of sexual harassment still work there. Like, and it's not just like one person. It's like a pretty open thing there, apparently. Those guys still work there. And it's like, okay, well, clearly you don't care that much about solving the problem. So.
Definitely, yeah. You're more worried about keeping your talent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on to the next update. Netflix is coming to E3. The streaming giant announced via an exchange with the E3 Twitter account that it would be at E3 2019. The assumption is that the company will be announcing some titles based off its IP at the show.
Fun. Ubisoft makes some moves ahead of E3. The developer of Skull and Bones, the open-world pirate ship game, has announced that the game has been delayed yet again and will not be present at E3 2019 as they continue to focus on development and quality of the game. Ubisoft also told investors that they plan to release 3 unannounced games during the fourth quarter of the 2019 fiscal year, so between January and the end of March. That would be 2020 for us. The slide acknowledges the announcement of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, meaning that there are 3 additional games Ubisoft has to announce.
Any speculation on those, Michael?
Well, it seems pretty clear that Watch Dogs 3 is going to be one of those. We discussed prior to the show maybe Assassin's Creed if they move it up, but I don't see a reason to. So
yeah, we also talked about that. As Odyssey's doing so well, and as long as they keep their promise with giving big updates and things for players to do, they shouldn't be in any rush to release an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need to, honestly. It would just kill the old one off. So, and Origins is still selling very well, and that game's almost 4 years old now. So,
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, moving on to the news. Microsoft and Sony are working together with plans for the future. According to a post on Microsoft's website, the 2 gaming giants have met and, quote, will partner on new innovations to enhance customer experiences in their direct-to-customer entertainment platforms and AI solutions, end quote. The post goes on to explain that the 2 have signed a memorandum to, quote, explore joint development of future cloud solutions in Microsoft Azure to support their respective game and content streaming services. By working together, the companies aim to deliver more enhanced entertainment experiences for their worldwide customers, end quote. There are tons of information in the post regarding all that the companies hope to achieve by combining their technologies and services. The companies are looking to integrate Microsoft's AI into Sony customer products, and for Sony to combine their semiconductors. If you're not aware, Sony's a big thing of really good with developing their semiconductors.
Right.
Combining their semiconductors with Microsoft's cloud technology. And it's all very exciting. So here's where we get in some discussion.
Right.
And Mike, I'll go ahead and let you kick it off before I tell you my theory.
Sure. I find this to be very interesting. Obviously, it comes more as a Microsoft, as we said, Microsoft Sony than it is an Xbox PlayStation sort of scenario. But they're the parent companies, and they're trying to come up with ways to do both things, it sounds like. As we know, PlayStation's kind of struggled in terms of streaming a little bit with PlayStation Now, and PlayStation View has done pretty well. But PlayStation Now in particular has had some few struggles here and there. And so I think that'll be helpful for them. And then Microsoft's obviously getting stuff on the back end. Microsoft kind of just lets Xbox do its own thing. Like, they don't really like mess with them too much. They like just do whatever. Like, as long as you're making money, we don't really care. But they've also kind of integrated them more to be more Microsoft than they are Xbox, which is also weird. So I don't know how they're going to go forward with this, like what exactly this means, but I mean, it's going to be a while before we really see the fruits of this.
I agree. I have a theory, and at first I thought I was super cool and super smart for coming up with this theory until I went online and realized everyone else has this theory too. So we know that PlayStation has not been kind when it comes to sharing. They've been against cross progression. They've been against cross platform
Mhm.
play. It's only until people withered them down really hard that they even gave in to any of those. And yet,
Right.
here we are seeing Sony and Microsoft kind of working together. I have this strange theory that they are working together for a different reason.
Which
I
would be?
think that they are slightly afraid of Google.
I think that's fair to assume.
I think that Google working on their Stadia, that's what it is, working on Stadia.
Right.
And all of a sudden, if Google, they've had a lot of really promising testing with the games that they've tested with. They've tested, I think, Odyssey. I think
Right.
they did
Yeah.
other ones too, I think, but their big thing that they were doing was Odyssey, because Odyssey, can be played in 4K and it requires a lot of processing power because it's such a big open world game.
Right.
And they're confident they have what it takes to get rid of that latency.
Right.
And if that's the case, they're about to make the game console obsolete. They're going to make gaming
Yeah, they could.
hardware obsolete,
Yeah, they could.
let alone consoles. Like a PC, your super high powered PC won't need it
Right.
anymore.
It wouldn't be necessary. Yeah. You could
Yeah.
use a Chromebook theoretically.
Yeah, let me get my iPad. Let me get my super cheap iPad out and plug it into a monitor, and all of a sudden I'll be playing
Mhm.
freaking, I don't know, something really good. My train of thought
It's
kind of
crazy.
withered out there.
No, I know where you're coming from. I think speaking on that track, I'm just looking at the subsidiaries that Google owns, and it's like a ridiculous amount of things that they own. And it's because Google's never been afraid to throw their weight around financially to just buy shit. So like, I totally get where you're coming from in terms of like they have the financial capabilities of like long hauling it, even if they're losing like hemorrhaging money, on Stadia, they'll be just fine because they make so much money doing everything else that like they don't really need to worry about it. I could have swore they own like an appliance company as well, but they own like part of an appliance company.
Oh,
I'm
not
looking
sure.
for it here, but I'm not
I
finding
just-
it.
Now, given
But they own like all sorts of crap.
like we said earlier, this is more generalized towards Sony and Microsoft rather than just
Right.
PlayStation and Xbox. So it could be a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's still, they're not dumb.
Right.
These are really smart people designing these consoles and working for these companies. And Google Stadia has to put a little fear into them, assuming that they can make it work. If anyone can make it work, and I said this in a previous episode, if anyone can make this streaming work, it's Google.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And to be fair, the only person that, as far as we know right now, is directly competing with them on the streaming front is Microsoft, because it's rumored that they have that streaming Xbox coming out next gen, which would put them in direct competition with Stadia. And Stadia seems like it's going to be more of a subscription than it will be hardware because of the ability to move around between platforms. And so I'm sure that kind of scares Microsoft because they're kind of doing the same thing. I don't know if you've seen, but Phil Spencer's been talking about the Xbox app that they've been working on to play Xbox games. And it's finally in the private beta, like internal beta testing. He's been testing it for months, apparently. Yeah, he's been testing it internally himself. He was the first person to get a hold of it, and he's been using it. And he says it's worked out pretty well for him so far. Because the idea is very similar to Stadia, where it runs on servers. So theoretically, you could do it whatever. So he was using it even in Japan before the servers are kind of live, all over the place. So he was getting a lot of latency, he said, on that end because the servers were all over the place. But it was still reasonable considering how far the server was and how far it was he was connecting to. But anyway, so my point is that I think that theory does have some validity to it because of the direct competition Microsoft and Google are going to have in the next couple of years. And then Sony's just kind of doing its own thing. So I think maybe that for both of them, this kind of works out. I don't know how familiar you are with Sony as an entity, but they don't make tons of money. Like they do fine, but PlayStation is where they make all of their large profits, honestly.
Yeah.
Whereas Microsoft across the board makes pretty good money from Xbox and Windows and, their computers and all that kind of stuff. So like across the board, they do pretty well, but
Yeah.
Sony heavily relies on PlayStation. So I think that's probably something to consider as well. They're like, okay, we want to beef up our consumer stuff because maybe they are considering moving PlayStation from being a piece of equipment to a brand like everybody else is. And, maybe you do see an app eventually where you can play PlayStation games just like, Stadia and Xbox. So maybe that's why they're working together as well. Plus, Microsoft has great AI. So that's a win, I think, in everybody's kind of book. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. And it was weird because there was no like leak or anything. Like everybody who reported on this got it straight from Microsoft. And I was like, that's so interesting. Because normally like something like that leaks or whatever. Like there were rumors that they were talking forever ago. Do you remember that? It was a long time ago. It was a
but
couple
these
years
rumors
ago.
have come up before.
That's true. So I don't know. We'll just have to see. I think it's cool though. I think it's interesting because especially with Sony's so isolated and they're very hard headed. Specifically Sony, not just the PlayStation side. So I think this is cool.
All right. Why don't you take us on to our next news point?
Oh boy, it's our obligatory section of the show where we have to talk about crunch. Wonderful. So CD Projekt Red is taking a stand on crunch. The company's co-founder, Marcin Iwinski, in an interview with Kotaku, stated that, quote, "We're known, let me be humble for a moment here, we are known for treating gamers with respect. This is what we've been working hard toward. And I actually would like for us to also be known for treating developers with respect," end quote. Iwinski also stated that they were working to push a, quote, "non-obligatory crunch policy," end quote, harder. The company wants employees to know that when they ask them to work extra, it is not, quote, "mandatory," end quote. Quote, "We've been working toward it for some time already. We've been communicating clearly to people that, of course, there are certain moments where we need to work harder. Like I think the E3 demo is a pretty good example. But we want to be more humane and treat people with respect. If they need to take time off, they can take time off. Nobody will be frowned upon if this will be requested," end quote. Iwinski also went on to say that he hopes the public statement helps the developers know that they are serious about the policy. And the Kotaku article goes even more in depth, questioning the validity of the statements and going into scheduling and vacation time. I don't want to quote the whole article. I think you should read it. It's a good piece over there on Kotaku. But some of the stuff in there, for example, is like, oh, you can't take off during during holidays because they're basically in crunch right now for Cyberpunk, and it's one of the most ambitious games that we've seen in a very long time. And so they're trying to make sure it gets done properly and polished and all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to be like, okay, well, we're gonna try to take vacations during this time instead of whenever, you know what I mean? So they're trying to schedule things more accurately, but still being like, take a vacation if you need it. So, but
Yeah.
how do you
I
feel
mean,
about all that?
Well, it's not surprising. It's a very good PR move that they're going to come out and say, "Hey, well, all this crunch stuff is going on, and we've got our big game coming out. We need everyone. We don't want to be caught in the crossfire of this whole crunch situation."
Exactly.
And that being said, that doesn't all of a sudden mean that I'm not trying to devalue it either.
Right.
Unfortunately, in the game industry or in anything where you're pressed for time on something, crunch usually happens. I mean, it doesn't mean that you should essentially enslave your workers. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice that they're coming out and saying, "Hey, we're trying to make sure that everyone knows that if we ask them to do something, they don't have to do it." And I kind of understand this whole crunch situation. It's like where companies make themselves go, "Well, we didn't tell people that they had, like, we didn't force people to work overtime," but at the same time, you give them a whole bunch of work that can't be done during regular hours. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's way too much work.
Yeah. Well, there's also the gun to head argument that's going around as well now. That's a popular phrase that's going around. Well, we don't hold a gun to anybody's head. And it's like, no, but anybody who works a 9-to-5 job knows that you don't want to piss off your employer. Like, the more likely, bad things are more likely to happen to you, the more you disagree with them and the more you kind of push back against them, especially if they're not necessarily kind, which a lot of people just aren't. And like, I get it. At the same point, management's job is to make sure stuff gets done. That's the whole point of their job is to, maintain workflow and processes and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have a problem inherently with crunch. I think my problem with crunch comes from the fact that it's like, okay, we're gonna fuck around for like 2 years, slowly get this game started together.
Okay, but not every game is Anthem. You know what I mean? That was
No, I'm not
those
saying
that was a
that.
few very specific examples. Normally, games get a lot of stuff done, and I think a little bit of crunch is inevitable. I think no matter what you do,
Yeah.
a little bit of crunch is always going to happen.
Right, and but to be fair, it's not like a specific thing in just games. Like it happens pretty frequently in a lot of industries. Like, there's peak times. If you work in retail, Christmas is always going to be super busy. You're going to
Yeah.
have to work more hours. They hire more employees. That's what you do. So like that kind of stuff I know where you're coming from with this, but I just mean there's been a lot of times, there's been too many times in my opinion where management failed to get the workflow right and hold, because like the people that made those decisions, they don't have to deal with the 50-hour work week like the people on the ground floor do. So that's where my issue comes in. But no, it's not every game, it's just some of these games. But yeah, crunch I think is just kind of inevitable. And there's people that are like, all crunch is bad, and I'm like, it doesn't have to be. Like 40 hours a week is a lot for a lot of people, but like I consider this work, and I work a 40-hour a week job. You worked 40 hours a week. You do school, you work, and we do the podcast. So in terms of work, we're always doing more than 40 hours a week worth of work, but that's our choice. And I think with game development, the reason why people are more upset about it is because it's not as much of a choice, if they want to work that or not, because it's like, well, if I don't work it, I'm going to get fired. And that's, a valid concern to have, honestly. I've been in that scenario. It's not fun. So I think that the stand is good if they stick to it. And to be fair, Kotaku holds them to their feet to the fire pretty hard in this article, which I can appreciate, because there's a lot of people that kind of like, they beat around the bush. They just straight up ask them. So I think that's something to commend them on. And I think that CD Projekt Red did a good job of kind of getting out there and being like, look, we want everybody to know so that we can be held accountable. I think that's really what this is about, is more being like, see, we're telling you now, so if it happens, you can hold us accountable. And then they're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen.
I agree. It's a very smart move, and it does make me put a little bit of faith in them.
Right, I think it's a smart, forward-thinking move.
And if they don't do it, yeah, exactly. If they don't do it, they threw themselves under the bus.
Yeah, then it's 100% like on them, and it's like,
exactly.
I'm not really gonna feel bad for you because you didn't have to say anything,
Yeah.
But
all right.
I think, yeah, go ahead. We've rambled on enough, I think.
So our last piece of news: Jason Schreier. Since I can't seem to talk today, no matter what. Jason Schreier leaks our Call of Duty that we will get in 2020. According to his report on Kotaku, Activision is shaking up its formula for the development cycle and having Treyarch come back in 2020 with Black Ops 5. If you follow Call of Duty, you know that this year is Infinity Ward's turn to make it, and the next year would be Sledgehammer. According to the report, Sledgehammer lost a ton of talent and upper management when co-founders Michael Condrey and Glenn Schofield left the studio. Condrey is setting up his own studio and getting talent from Sledgehammer. The report claims that the reason why Sledgehammer isn't developing it is that they have run into issues with Raven Software. And if you are unaware, they're the folks that made the Blackout mode, the Battle Royale mode in Call of Duty 4, or in Black Ops 4.
Right.
The studios have had issues and frequently are arguing over the development of the game during the last year. And so that was when the decision was made to support Treyarch to work on a campaign for Black Ops 5.
It was like a really weird mess.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It is. Well, Call of Duty's been tossed around.
Yeah, to be fair. I didn't play Black Ops 4. I know you did a bit, But I thought World War II showed a lot of promise, like in terms of the way they developed it.
It did. The original Black Ops holds a special place in my heart. Me personally, I think the original Black Ops was the peak of Call of Duty.
I would agree with that.
I loved the original Black Ops. It was so good.
It still is, to be fair.
I always say this, it aged like fine wine. I was playing a few weekends ago. I was playing it through the reverse compatibility marketplace on my Xbox. It was really great.
Mm-hmm.
I was loving it.
So this is so weird. So
did Sledgehammer develop World War II?
Yes, they were the one who developed World War II. Which I thought was one of the best Call of Duties to come out in recent years. Because you and I have played a couple of the other ones. You played Ghost and you hated that. We played Advanced Warfare. I really like that. What came after that? Black Ops 3? No.
I think.
There was what did Treyarch do Black Ops 3? I thought they did something else before they did Black Ops 3.
It was Black Ops 3, then it was Infinite Warfare, then it was World War II.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you were right. It was Black Ops 3. I totally forgot about Black Ops 3. Okay, so Black Ops 3 was actually decent, but I thought World War II honestly is the best one this generation so far.
This generation?
Because it felt like it had some.
I might agree with you on that. Depends how you feel about the battle royale modes and everything. Because people are saying that I think Black Ops 4 is just a little too much for me.
Right, that's what I hear. Is that you either love I've heard that Black Ops 4 is fine. It's Call of Duty, but Blackout is really what makes it super interesting, but not for $60. So, yeah, I don't know. This is weird because, all right, so Infinity Ward's doing their game next, and then Treyarch has to do their game next, and then who's going to do 2021 if nobody's doing you know what I mean? Like, Infinity Ward's going to have to go again?
Maybe Sledgehammer.
I don't know.
Maybe they'll get their ducks in a row.
I don't know, because apparently the issue with them is that everything got all messed up, so now they're going to make Black Ops 5. And according to this report, they're going to move it back to Cold War era because that's what the campaign was originally going to be anyways for what Sledgehammer was working on, was some Cold War Vietnam kind of stuff. So that's going to be super weird, going from the future all the way back to Vietnam, like how Black Ops 1 was. Even Black Ops 2, wasn't Black Ops 2 set in the past as well?
Black Ops 2?
Like the 90s? Or was it set in the future?
Well, it jumped a little bit. It basically took place in modern times. It took place around our time and then would look back to events that happened shortly after the original Black Ops. Okay.
So this will be more in line with Black Ops 1 then, around that time frame. I would assume during the Cold War kind of era.
Yeah.
So that's weird, but fine, because we just said we like Black Ops. We think Black Ops is probably the best one. So if that's where they move back to, that's fine with me. But it's one of those things where it's like, I guess it's good that they nipped it in the butt so early on, because Activision doesn't play around when it comes to getting games out. They want the game out. They want it done. They want it, they want you to get your job done, get the game out, make money. So I think that's good that they just did it right now instead of like, oh, January 2019 or January 20. Yeah, no, what's fucking. Sorry, I'm like so lost in what universe I live in, apparently. January 2020, like, oh, we're mixing things up and Treyarch is now doing the Call of Duty this year. And it's like they have 9 months to figure it out. Like, then I'd be way more concerned. But I think this will turn out just fine. Yeah. It's the 2021 game that I think you should worry about, honestly.
I hope you remember this episode, and if we report on this forever, I want you to give out a big "I told you so."
I will. I always do. So, like, I think this will be good because everybody was not everybody, but a lot of people were pretty upset about Black Ops 4 not having a campaign and still charging $60. So at least Black Ops 5 will have a campaign. We can't complain about that.
Okay, people need to stop crying. There are people that barely play the campaigns anyway.
I agree with that.
They were just
but
looking
there's
for
also
something
a
to
section of
bitch
people
about.
that do play it.
Yeah, but you're also given the all new Blackout mode.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to be fair, I felt like that was a fair supplement.
Yeah,
for the
so did
campaign.
I.
Once I kind of saw it in action, I thought it was a fair supplement.
I feel like more
But I
people
understand.
play the Blackout mode than played the campaign.
I wish I had that information, but I wouldn't doubt it, honestly, given what we know. So I don't know, because there's talks that they in this report of Activision looking at free to play models, for some titles and talking about different things, and there's rumors that the new Modern Warfare is gonna have the remastered campaign for Modern Warfare 2 instead of its own campaign. And then there's also been some rumors that there's going to be a battle royale on it. But those seem pretty unsubstantiated so far. So, like, I don't know. This year, I think the next 3 Call of Duties are going to be super interesting to see, like, development-wise, how they turn out. But, like, Activision's still going to be printing money with this game. So it's not like it's going anywhere unless they really screw it up. So.
Yeah. I don't know. Call of Duty just dropped off for me.
I agree.
It was fun when I was
It's
younger. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that enjoy it now. It's just not my cup of tea now. But anyway, I think that's all we have on that matter.
Yeah, it's a good article. I suggest that you read it. We just kind of summed up like the important parts to make the have a conversation about it more specifically about Call of Duty's development. So go ahead and read that. It as always, all the sources for our stuff is in the description. If you're listening on podcast services, it's not, because I can't fit all of this in there. So
yeah, but anyway, we are going to go ahead and get out of here. Try and check us out at least once a week. That's how often we try and do this. So stop by. You might like what you find.
Indeed.
And I am still, as far as I know, Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, friends.
We're gone. Minecraft has now... Jesus Christ. Can I restart that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just stuttered like 4 times in one sentence. Minecraft might be the world's best-selling game. Minecraft has... I keep stuttering. I don't know why I keep stuttering on Minecraft. Okay. Let's try. All right. I'm going to say... Hang on.
Take it from the top.
Hang on, I'm changing the words. Jesus Christ. Let's try that again. Minecraft might be the world's best-selling game. The titan of the game is not... Oh my god. Let me just take a breath for a sec.
You're cool.
I don't know what the fuck's happening right now. Feel it.
I'm losing it.
Yeah, I am losing it. You should do a blooper thing.
I've thought about it, because a lot of people put it at the end. And I've thought about just cutting it all out and putting it at the end for those that stick around.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just make sure everything offensive isn't in it. Okay.
Of course.
Here we go. GTA 5 is the closest behind with 110 million sold, with no other games passing the $100 million or god damn it, I can't talk. GTA 5 is the closest behind with 110 million copies sold, with no other games passing the 100 million copy. Oh my god.
Is it in sales or is it 100 million copies?
It's copies. Jesus fuck. Okay.
Okay, so just
GTA 5 is
I'll just remove this. Go ahead. There you go.
I think this is the worst I've ever done.
It's been a while since we fucked up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.